Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it is just Marco here once again, and I am here today to do a special new release movie review, which I have not gotten to do in a little while. And see, this is what I hate about this new schedule is that things just pile up and while I'm trying to get other videos done that I've needed to get done for a while, you have these new movies that come out and I need to review them and then they just keep on piling up and piling up and but I was really excited to watch this movie, excited but hesitant because I used to be like a huge Pixar fan as a kid. And you guys know I've already done several commentaries of Pixar movies, and I plan on completing all of them, maybe even this one, and then ranking them. And because I love Pixar, I love Toy Story, The Incredibles, but Pixar started getting bad ever since Toy Story 3. After Toy Story 3, I think that's when they started to go downhill. And I know that some people have delusions of grandeur when it comes to movies like Toy Story 4 and The Incredibles 2, which I just find both of those movies to be vomitocious and bad. But it's been a while since there's been a Pixar movie that's been really, really good. And you know what? Finally, we have a really, really good Pixar movie again. This movie, Hoppers, that was a long build-up, but I wanted to really set things up because this movie, I had no expectations for. I heard from some people, like, okay, it's good, not great. Like, I don't know, like, there's no big like build up to it like this is gonna be Avengers Doomsday type of thing. It was just like, okay, here's our new Pixar movie, and you know what, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. And what was really nice about it was it gets better and better and better and better as it goes on, to the point of where at the end you just feel like you not only went through something, but you also feel like you really got your money's worth. It feels like a full beginning, middle, and end. There's like an actual plot structure, which that's been a big complaint of like modern movies of mine, is that there's a lot of movies with no plot structure. They start off and they're just starting, and there's no actual beginning to the movie. And this movie, it has a beginning, middle, and end, and that is such a refreshing thing. I know that sounds crazy, but I swear it would make sense if you saw this movie and then you watch some of these other bad movies that come out nowadays. Another thing that I loved about this movie, I guess we could kind of skip to like one of the big things. It's not really a spoiler, I guess. It's not a spoiler. But a lot of movies nowadays are not very positive. They're not very hopeful, because it feels like, and this is something that I found to be very problematic about movies nowadays and just TV shows, everything, is that it feels like if a movie is positive or it tries to inject you with some kind of hope and some kind of, optimism, that people will make fun of it and they'll laugh at it and they'll say, and, they'll make memes about it. Like I even made a meme for this review that I will explain in a few minutes. I made that before I even saw the movie. But it was something that I noticed and I was like, what's up with that? But I love the fact that this movie wasn't afraid to just be positive and I guess you could say earnest, I guess, like not earnest like, earnest scared stupid, but like earnest, like it has an emotional authenticity to it and a happy type of feeling and a positive message. So many movies nowadays, they don't do that because they don't want to be made fun of and they don't want people to, put like little clips out of context on TikTok and say, this was bad because, oh my God, it's so cringe that there's a positive scene or there's a hopeful message. But that's what this movie has. And so I really like that as well. That's another thing I loved. Another thing I loved about this movie, I love the characters. I mean, there's so many fun little characters in this movie. It's a wide cast of characters. But the amazing thing is that the main character, who's this young girl named Mabel, I guess she's like in college, she's around that age. She is the main character of the movie. Like the whole movie depends on her, and I know that's something else that you guys are gonna scratch your heads at, but I've been saying that a lot of movies nowadays, it feels like, the main character isn't allowed to do anything unless he's on a team or she's on a team. And it is true in this movie that, like, the big message is that, we should all work together, respect nature, respect animals. But at the same time, the main character in this movie, she's the she's the driving force of the movie. She gets things done. And so again, I really appreciated that. And I'm trying to really highlight the reason why I really like this movie and I don't like all these other movies that are coming out. Because so many people, you guys watch my reviews and, you come to this conclusion that I'm negative about everything. And I want you to understand where that negativity comes from. Because, if movies were just like Hoppers, then I would be giving like 1 million positive reviews. So I'm trying to think of other like main things before I really get into the story, I guess, and some stuff with that. Well, I will just say that like the movie takes a lot of really wild twists and turns, and that was one of my favorite things about the movie because it felt like it was constantly surprising me and just taking me to new places that I didn't expect. And again, giving me my money's worth and making me feel like, wow, that was a big, fantastic adventure. And something else about this movie is that it's not like a 2.5 hour movie. Okay, I was going to go see the outer space movie with Ryan Gosling, or who even knows if that's actually the real Ryan Gosling anymore, to be quite honest. But like, I saw that movie's like 2.5 hours long. And you guys know that if you go to the theaters nowadays, you have to watch like an hour of trailers and advertisements before you even get to the movie. So I chose to see Hoppers instead. I was like, hell yeah. So that was cringe. I was like, hell yeah. But anyways, so this story is all about this girl. And now here's the thing. This is the one criticism. This is literally the only criticism that I have of this entire movie. That is how much I liked it. I want to just say first, this is in the discussion for top tier Pixar movies. That is how good this is. I would highly recommend seeing it in theaters. So many bad movies coming out nowadays. See this movie. It's too bad Scream 7 isn't in IMAX anymore because I would have recommended to see that. But in fact, it's pretty surprising, by the way, that they put this movie in IMAX when it first came out, because I wanted to see Scream 7 a second time in IMAX, and they wouldn't let me because they put hoppers in there. But the one big criticism that I have, even though I consider this a top-tier Pixar movie, is Mabel's costume. Now, Mabel is a main character. We first see her as a little girl, and she's growing up, and we get some backstory with her grandma, and the woods, the forest, and nature around where, her grandma lived. And the beginning part was the worst part of the movie because that's when it felt like typical Pixar. But as soon as it breaks out of that shell, that's when it gets fantastic. But it's still really good at the beginning. It gets fantastic when it finally breaks the mold and you finally get to that core story. The meat and potatoes of the movie, I should say. But the one thing is that Mabel, she grows up, she becomes this kind of activist, this conservation activist. She wants to stop this, they call it a beltway. It's like a highway. She wants to stop that from, it's not, okay, I'm sure there's like a technical difference, but like, FML, a beltway, whatever. The mayor is a guy named Jeff, I believe. Jerry. Sorry. I just got confused for a second. Mayor Jerry wants to build this beltway through this glade, where all these animals used to be, and Mabel wants to stop him. And so the very weird thing about this is that Mabel, her outfit that they give her, it's a very strange outfit. We've seen this outfit before in Whistle, which was a terrible, terrible, abysmal failure of a movie with Daphne Keane, who, she is a 10 out of 10, but, a 10 out of 10 can be in a 0 out of 10 movie, too. And that was one example. But she has this what I would describe as like the jacket that John Rambo wears in the first Rambo movie. Oh God, that wasn't how Rambo sounds at all. That's like the theme song, okay? But like, you guys remember that opening? Okay, I'm gonna stop now. But like, you picture John Rambo walking down the road, going into this town, and then the sheriff stops and he's like, "What do you think you're doing here? Like, who are you?" He's wearing this like green military jacket. This jacket that, it's a very masculine jacket. It's like a rugged. It's 70s. And it's so strange because in Whistle, you had this, main character in the whole fucking movie. She's wearing this Rambo jacket. And then in Hoppers, they do the same thing. She's wearing this green Rambo jacket. And look, I know that it was her grandma's jacket. I know that, it smells like her grandma. She probably never even washed it, like, I don't want to say anything else about that, but like, it's so weird though. It's so weird to have these two movies where like you have this main female character and she's wearing this dumpy masculine green jacket, this Rambo army jacket. I mean, what are the odds of that? And what is the connection? Like, I don't know. There's just something weird about that. I don't want to, because I can't really put my finger on it right now. I mean, I really need to analyze the situation. But, it's not a huge deal. It's just the one big thing that I thought that's pretty weird, I mean, they even have like similar hair, and that both of them had these like wild and crazy hairstyles, and it's like what is going on, like with Hollywood and female characters nowadays? Like, what is the deal here? But regardless, that was not a big issue. It's not a deal breaker. The movie is still a fantastic movie, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else, because really I can't talk about anything else without getting into spoilers. I will say that a lot of things happen that you would not expect to happen. There's even like sort of surprise character twists. There's all sorts of cool stuff that happens in this movie, to the point of where it just felt like a roller coaster, because you're just going all over the place, and it's throwing you off. You're going upside down, you're going sideways. It's really, really cool. And it's also really funny. I laughed quite a few times throughout this movie. I didn't laugh at all of the jokes, obviously. I mean, it is a kid's movie. There's a couple, but this is actually a really intelligently made kids movie. And another thing that I really liked about it, and this is something that, a lot of people bring up to vegans, because vegans think that we shouldn't eat meat because it's bad to be mean to animals. But, if you go into nature with animals, like just animals all by themselves, animals are really, really mean. They're really mean. Nature is really mean. Mother Nature is powerful, and she's more powerful probably than any human being or animal on Earth. And, nature is not something to mess around with. And I really like the fact that, I mean, have you guys seen that fucking bear movie? The bear guy? The guy who gets eaten by a bear? Because you will learn what happens in nature. A Grizzly Man, that guy, he was a failed actor. This is all spoiler alert, by the way. He was a failed actor. He was supposed to get a role on Cheers. It didn't work out, so the guy decided to hang out with bears. And he thought that he could hang out with them and share a beer with them and wrestle them and probably take baths with them and shit, and then years later there's this big ass bear that came over and killed him and his girlfriend. I mean, he fucked around and he found out. I mean, it's not a funny situation. It's just funny that, like, look, nature is mean. Nature is mean-spirited. Nature is not like real life. It's not like how we perceive it as, like, oh, these cute animals and this fantasy fairy tale world. Nature is nature. And this movie, surprisingly enough, it portrays nature the way that it should be portrayed. And it portrays nature in a very realistic way. Now, there are some very over-the-top things that happen, but it's a kid's movie. It's a Pixar movie. But in terms of nature, this is one of the most accurate portrayals of nature that I've ever seen in a kid's movie, which I was really surprised by. I know that's... It just, I don't know. This movie is so good. I was so surprised by it. I'm so glad that I chose to watch it. There's so many things that I love about the movie. I love it so much that the first thing that I thought when it was over was that I can't wait to watch it again. I can't wait to see it again. I can't wait to, experience this again. Because it's also, I would say it's like a good comfort movie. So, yeah. So, in terms of food, this movie is surprisingly rich and deep. And it's full of just things to love. So I'm gonna give this movie a beef stew with nice hearty beef, tender chunks of beef, chunks of potatoes with the skin on them, carrots, celery, and some frozen peas and some delicious beef broth. And that is what I literally just had for dinner because it just so happened to conveniently perfectly work out with this movie. Perfect Pixar movie. There's little to no issues that I had, I guess, except for the jacket. There might be one other thing, I guess, but like, not really. Like, I don't care. Like, there's so many bad movies nowadays, and it's so hard to overlook anything because they're just so terrible. This is one of those movies where even if there's like an issue or two that you have watching it, it doesn't even matter. By the end of it, you're just thinking like, that was really good. That was awesome. That was something that I would watch again. So, if you would like to see the rest of this review, please head on over to our Patreon page. You can get a membership of Tier 2 to see this full review, or you can get the review all by itself for just $3. $3 one-time purchase. You can get Hoppa! And so